Hi, welcome to the award-winning Ed Brown Show. And we have something special here. We're going to talk about the museum. And we have the young man here, Mr. Rogers and Mr. Browning. They're going to tell us about the 100 Black Men organization that's mentoring here in Prince George's County. And so what we're going to do, Mr. Everett, tell us a little bit about this organization. When you say 100 men, just how did you get started? You know, getting guys to get ready for a football game is easier, you know, or a basketball game. You know, how did you? Because mentoring is the key to success for the young people.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd say thank you, Mr. Brown, for having us on the show. The 100 Black Men is an organization that was started over 40 years ago in New York by a group of men who were professional and wanted to give back. Over the years, 120 chapters have sprung up all around the world. We have chapters in London, in England, and one of the newer chapters right here in Prince George's County. The 100 Black Men is a focus of successful Black men who know we've been blessed and we feel an obligation to give back to our community by mentoring young men and young women at risk and giving them access to opportunities that maybe they won't necessarily be able to see.
Mm-hmm. Great, sounds good. Now you got Cameron over there. Tell us, how did Cameron get involved with your organization?
Cameron Rogers' mother heard about the organization. She went on her website and applied and reached out to us. And we brought Cameron on initially into our golf program and then later into our complete mentoring program. Cameron represents a lot of kids in our community who just need opportunity to work with positive male role models.
Oh yeah, I need to get in that golf program because my score is out of sight.
Yes.
You need an ad machine.
Yes. And one thing with golf that we love, it teaches a lot of life lessons as far as integrity.
That's what I was going to ask you, why you use golf as entry.
Well, one thing those of us who play golf, we found out is a very frustrating sport that takes a lot of patience. There's a lot of integrity. There's a lot of repetitive motions. And another thing that happened was a lot of us in the 100, as we entered the corporate world, realized there was a lot of business deals happening on the golf course that we weren't a part of because we weren't playing golf. So we found out early on that being able to play golf, sometimes you have the accessibility to things that you wouldn't normally have. So we want to make sure that our kids are ready whenever the opportunity come up to take advantage of and present who they are.
Well, I think the program is outstanding, you know, getting the male involved with the youngsters, because the media does a terrible job of you know, putting the young blacks involved with their fathers. Usually it's always the image, you know, the mother home without a father. But the idea of having the father image is so very important, and I think the media has done a terrible job with anything that negative that they can put, you know, on the black male. This is generally what they do, you know, make it appear. And having an organization like this, 100 Black Men, I was really elated because they are the future.
Yes, sir.
See,
yes, sir.
And that's the way we have to look at it. Cameron, tell us, what do you think of this organization?
Okay, so in the 100 Black Men, something I think about the organization, I think it's a really good thing for not just me, but for everyone to do, because I've learned a lot here. I've done a lot of experiences that I would have never done without my mentors.
Okay, how do you start your program? Give us an idea of your system.
Well, the system is, I mean, luckily we've been blessed. The 100 Black Men, the men in the program, are leaders in the community, doctors, lawyers, business owners. And what we do, we look at our combined resources and accesses, and then we build programs to give unique opportunities throughout Prince George's County. We live in a beautiful place where we have access to Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and the county. So we look for opportunities at the colleges, whether it's taking the kids to Bowie State University, taking the kids to museums, taking them on sporting events, and just expose them to a lot of things. So once we do that, our mentoring program is built on 4 pillars: mentoring, education, health and wellness, and economic empowerment. And we look at not only training the kids, but getting them prepared to train their families, to explain healthy living to their families, to explain economic responsibility to their families and becoming leaders. So we have several programs, Saturday Leadership Academy, that we bring the kids in every other Saturday and talk to them about life skills. We started a program called Silicon 100. We're actually preparing the kids to write code, to become computer entrepreneurs, to start their own businesses.
Great.
So we have programs where we focus on STEM and not only getting the kids through high school and through college, but preparing them in life. We're expecting these kids to take our place in the corporate world, you know, to turn our business over to these kids, to have these kids be the next leaders in the community, and like you said before, break down the myth. There aren't positive young black men, there aren't positive black men in our community who are trying to make a difference.
Right, definitely. Cameron, tell us some of the things that you really enjoy, the positive things that you have experienced.
That's a really long list. Okay. I guess some of the things I really enjoyed, the overall mentoring. I like having conversations with Mr. Everett while we're in the car. We do that a lot. He talks to me, and I really like him as my mentor. And then when we get there, we do our homework. They help us. They bring in tutors, and I think it's really
even
good.
bring in tutors, huh?
Yes, sir.
Great.
They help us in areas where we need it. And if we don't have any homework, they want to stay educated. So the tutor would give us a book that we can work on. And then we eat before we go on the golf course to make sure we're not hungry, because you need to be able to focus.
What's your favorite food?
My favorite vegetable would be
Oh, wow, vegetables? Oh, when I was your age, vegetables wasn't on. Boy, great.
my mom. She makes like really good kale, and I heard it's healthy for you. But I think my favorite meat will probably be ribs.
Ribs.
Can't go wrong with ribs.
All right. Okay. Now, how many youngsters do you have in your program, and what is the age limit?
Our current program, we have between 40 and 50 kids currently, as we're growing and going forward. We usually like to bring the kids in no earlier than 3rd grade, and usually no later than 9th grade. We found through practices that's the prime age where they're open to learning. And so our focus is bringing kids in and finding out enough about them to where they need help. Some kids need help in education. Some kids, unfortunately, have home environments where they just need someone to talk to and need help with that. So we not only help the kids, but we reach out to the parents and say, how can we help you? Let's say in our program, we feed the kids, we bring in tutors, we bring in as many life coaches, we have access to any resources they may need to be successful. So it's not just a pick you up for an hour and take you home. It's a involved in your life for the rest of your life type of program.
Right.
The 100, and we call it the 100 way of mentoring, meaning that you have a group of men who are invested in your future in every aspect of it.
Well, one thing, you were fortunate to be here with the African American Museum is opening. And I think I spent Saturday 6 hours there, and I think that's something that all organizations should put, I mean all racial organizations should put on their list. They need to go down to the African American Museum, because I spent 6 hours and I was really tired, you know, walking up and down ramps. But it's marvelous. I mean, the architect, the layout. So that's, you can put that. You were
That's
saying,
already on our list, sir. That's a must for us, and we're trying to bring as many kids as we can from the community there to learn where we. As you said before, unfortunately, the media doesn't tell our full story.
No.
All the things we've accomplished and things that we've contributed to this country, and it's up to us to make sure that that story doesn't disappear, and that narrative becomes an honest narrative about African American men and the African American community.
Well, so tell me some of the things that, as a group, that you all do to get volunteers. You know. Yeah, I mean,
it's a hard process becoming a mentor, because we believe that each mentor represents us with the kids. So our process is almost a 6 months process, and our biggest thing we look for is, are you committed with your time? We're not looking for someone who's just going to write a check, or someone who's going to looking for another bullet on their resume. We look for men who are dedicated to give back to the community, who see the need, who realize that it's more than being angry. It's time for action.
Yes.
You know, that we need action and positive action, and understand that there's a lot of nuance to our problems. There's not one simple solution. And who are able to talk honestly to our kids. Some of our best mentors are people who have been through life experiences. I mean, none of us arrived where we were without a story to tell.
Right.
And telling that honest story to our kids, letting them know that we come where you come from, whether it's coming from West Baltimore, or Southeast DC, or where I'm from in Newport News, Virginia, to know that anything's possible. And we show them that, you know, the kids are in charge of their destiny. So our mentors go to our website at www.100princegeorge.org. You can apply to become a mentor, or just come out and volunteer. We have a lot of people who show up at our different events and just talk to the kids. And we would love to have you come and talk to our kids about your life experiences. We want to let them know there are many careers and many opportunities to be successful. And most of all, help them redefine the idea of success. It's not who has the biggest house or the biggest car that was a successful man. You know, the idea of being happiness and taking care of your family and being a leader, and showing them that can be done in a myriad of ways.
And really getting involved with why the situation is like it is today in this country. And one of the major items I think they need to know is that here they're going through a period of economic slavery as far as minorities are concerned. That's why it's difficult for the minorities to get jobs. When I say jobs, I'm not talking about domestic jobs. I'm thinking about CEO positions.
Yes, sir.
And I think the way that we should really work it is that I call it economic slavery, is the fact that with the computers being invented, there's so many ways that you can do your homework. In other words, economics is the key to the success of the minorities in this country, because every group, that's the first thing that they've done is get economic security. Richard Wright, the great poet, said, you're not free unless you're economically free.
Yes,
they can pass all the laws and that you want to, and the law's not enforced right now. We get into a very, very important time of voting, and youngsters need to know that, hey, voting is very important. I'm talking about all the way down to the civic association, the school president or the class president, whatever. Always do your homework. And see, voting is very important on all levels. Most of us believe, you know, you come in the presidential election, but you want to know who's going to be a civic association president and who's going to be your councilman, who's going to be your senator, because they are the ones that stand in your way. A good example of that all of us have experienced here, you have a president that tried so many things for everybody, and he still was successful. But what happened is that he wasn't able to do the things he wanted because of the system. The system is set up so they move you into important things like concerning the money. They move you into things like that based on what? Time, not ability. You know, you find a lot of our senators, representatives, been in, I say 40 years, you know. They've developed systems where they have control of the vote. Voting is very important, and I'm hoping that's one of the things that 100 Black Men are telling the youngsters about, preparing themselves, being active in the neighborhood, because voting is the key.
Yes,
on
sir.
all levels, especially on your level there at school. Most people, they don't think about a councilman and the different positions, the mayor and all, but those, and first of all, you want to do your homework. Everybody, what is homework? Tell me, Cameron.
What is homework?
Yeah, tell me what you think homework is.
Well, to me, I don't really like homework, but homework is what teachers send home so that you can practice your work at home. So yeah, that's what homework is.
And it's an introduction to knowledge, right?
No.
Homework generally, I know when I was going to school, it was always something I thought it was tough, you know, and the teacher knew that, hey, if you do the homework, when you come to class, you'll know how to do it. You have to do it yourself, though. But you can't let Aunt Susan, Mary, or Jack or somebody tell you. You have to experience it. And in mentoring, I'm sure this is the road that you all are taking as far as the
Yes,
kids
the 100
concerned.
Black Men of America has been a very involved in the voter registration and getting out the vote and supporting candidates who support our community. We talk to the kids all the time about that, like you said, the understanding of civic responsibilities and who's responsible in your community, and not being distracted by TV and politicians pointing fingers. You're exactly right. Homework, understanding, and we've worked real hard to get them introduced to the county, the city, and different officials who are responsible for that day-to-day living, understanding who's responsible for your schools, who's responsible for your police, who's responsible for your jobs, and how do you work with them, and how you put pressure on them, and that regardless of where you're from, how much money you make, everyone gets one vote. So that's a very important lesson that we're pushing to them, as far as understanding your position and your power and how to utilize that, and not becoming complacent. Unfortunately, we see a lot of people who gain success in a society, and they become complacent or they disappear.
Yes.
And it's important to us to make sure that not only that we enforce that young men like Cameron become successful, but that they have an obligation to bring other people up,
Right.
and hold those in charge accountable. And that's one of the tenets of 100. We are a 503c organization, so we look to the community for any type of help or resources we can to make sure we give these kids a unique experience. So we've been blessed. There have been several local politicians who've helped us out, but we always need more, because these kids go home. Unfortunately, at times these kids go home to situations, and their parents are looking for jobs, or they go to schools that may be overcrowded, and so we have to constantly help them understand you can't just be a victim in your situation. Understand, you grow from it. Be in spite of, not because, and become great. So we see our 100 Black Men across the country. We have about 200,000 kids
200,000
in the program.
Wow.
And our graduation rate is over 98% for all the kids in the program. We're giving away over $100 million in scholarships yearly. We have programs. We have chess clubs, math clubs, golf programs. So it's a unique experience, but it's only as strong as the mentors and volunteers and support we get from our community. We realize Superman is not coming to save our community, and that it's up to us to invest in our kids.
Well, I like to emphasize more on the economic slavery. We have to understand, and
Yes.
I see on your card there, you're emphasizing them getting into the business world.
Economic empowerment, yes.
Economic empowerment,
Yes.
they have to know that you have to. Right now, we're going through, if people are honest with themselves, they look at the neighborhood changed from black to white to Spanish, and really, we're living during a time of segregation right now,
Yes.
where white neighborhoods change to blacks, and blacks change to Spanish, and right on down. And that is a form, economic slavery is a form of segregation, because that way they control the education, because they know that certain groups live in this neighborhood.
Yes.
So when they're passing the money out for those groups, the education and things of that nature, they know which one not to give money to. And the key to everything is education. If you don't have education, then this is what rules the entire world. But right now, what we have to look at, all the problems we have with the police and everything, we have to hit the economic. Right now, what you should do, if you have a computer, okay, get the computer. Last time you bought something at a store, okay, go to your computer, I think they call it Google or something, and find out how many minorities that company have on the CEO level. See, and not sweeping the floor, on the CEO. And then when you go out to spend your money, if that company does not have a representative of minorities on the CEO level, that's the level you want to aim for, because they are the ones that make the decision. They are the ones that make the big bucks.
Yes, sir. It's very important that
it's very important,
very important
that the youngsters know this. You don't, because right now the emphasis, they put goals ahead. Okay, during my day, the thing was, hey, look, you get an education, get a college degree, and then you get a good government job, then you retire at 30 years. That's antique.
Yes, sir.
That's antique. You have to get into the business world of this country. Once you get into the business, then you tell people what you want. You don't ask them. And once we get economic security, all the problems we have with the police and all that, the money in this country won't allow them to destroy this country the way the things are going now. They won't allow them to do it, and they'll stop whatever's going on if the money, and you out there, hey, you go to the store every day. Hey, stop buying at places that don't cater to minorities.
Yes.
If they don't, and there's plenty competition out there. If one doesn't have it, another one does. And when they find out that they get that economic crunch, things will change. When they find out that they can't actually control people through the money. Right now, minorities are controlled by economic slavery. They have low price jobs. They live in the neighborhoods. I don't have to tell you about that. And when you look around, is that your neighborhood, it changes from one race to another. But what's happening is, you notice too, the solid majority is not speaking up.
No,
when
sir.
These things are happening, if it happened in their race or happened, they would speak up, demand army, planes, and everything. If the destruction that's happening to the black male in this country, if that was happening. So only way you can do it with your pocketbook. Hey, all of you have pocketbooks, all of you have cell phones. All you have to do is go anywhere that you buy anything. I don't care what it is, fast food, house, car, find out how many minorities that they have on the CEO level. See, what happened with these contracts and everything is that you notice that there's very few African Americans working on these contracts.
Or owning these businesses. And you're right, that's why economic empowerment is so one of
See,
the pillars that we look at. We
yeah.
want to make sure they keep about
See,
ownership.
but this country responds to one thing, money. If in fact we can control our spending, don't buy a lot of things you don't need. And you yourself can conduct your own survey. Whatever store it is, you don't have to ask anyone in the store about it. Just get the name of the store, put it in the computer, and ask that question. How many CEOs do you have in African American? They look at you like you're crazy. I've done it in stores, they say, what?
A lot of people don't know,
Yeah,
don't realize.
But and the companies that don't respond to you, then you don't buy. They call that economic. You recall we talked about that. Yeah. If they don't respond, and I'm wondering, are you all actually mentoring these youngsters to understand this?
Yes,
that they have to
empowerment.
get into the economics. Once we get the young people
Yes.
like Cameron into the economics of this country, then our problems will be solved because everybody respects the dollar.
Yes.
And I use an expression, a lot of people don't like it. This society is set up on, I'll do my mama in for a quarter. That's the society that you're living in, whether people like it or not, but it's true. And not only this occurs in all races. This occurs in Europe, occurs in Africa, Asia, everywhere. Is that the fact is, if you're not on the economics of whatever country that is, you don't get equal opportunity.
One thing we try to focus on the kid is understanding one, economic responsibility, and two, going from ownership and understanding how money works.
But
investment.
in the Washington Post today, they had an article concerning generations of wealth, where
Yes.
this was in Virginia, one family was given 40,000 acres of land, and they've been for 400 years. They've been passing it down to the generation, and that's why they control the political system in that. That's a little town in Virginia, and if you haven't, get the Washington Post and read that article. It's very interesting, and the young people have to learn that what they have to do be involved. Tell me some of the things that you feel that you would like to have in your lifetime.
Well, I guess some things that I would like to have in my lifetime. I would guess I'd like to own some land.
That's it. Key, land. Go ahead.
My dad took me fishing one time, and he had owned part of a lake.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that would be interesting because
Well, your dad has a lake on the land.
yes,
Oh, great.
he has part of a lake.
Oh, great. And tell me, what career do you want to get into?
Astrophysics.
Astrophysics. Oh, tell us a little bit about astrophysics. I'm a scientist. I'm a chemist, but tell me about physics.
Okay, so I recall astrophysics, the definition of that being, so astrophysics is basically applying chemistry and physics to the laws of space and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Why do you want to be an astrophysicist?
Well, in 5th grade, I did a project on Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I thought it was really interesting. He wrote a book on black holes, and I really think they're pretty cool. I learned even light can escape their power, and they can bend the rules of physics and space, and I think that's really cool.
And who was that project about?
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
He was a great black scientist.
Astrophysicist.
Astrophysicist. So, introducing our kids to different people in those communities of science and letting them know that there are many successful black men, regardless of what they see on TV,
Yeah,
who
well,
are doing great things.
Well, that's what I say is that people, the television industry, I'm part of it, and I'm program managed news. All you have to do, anytime you see something or hear something, check it out yourself. The homework behind it, because every writer, when I was writing for a newspaper, your editor tell you do this story and then he said, I want 300 words, and you come up with 300 words, and what happened? The managing editor, he looks at it and he cuts it down to 100, or he certain things he takes out that would give the paper a different image or something like that. So when you get an article, it's been reviewed by a manager, a program manager, who decides how many words it's going to be and is it in the right direction. So a lot of people say, I heard that in the paper. I read that in the paper. Hey, that's just an individual's view of a subject.
Cut down.
And see, that's the thing that we don't use that, but program managed news, it works all the time. It's the image that you want to portray, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir. And that's exactly why with the 100, our goal is to make sure our kids we give them the tools. They have to put the work in, and then we have to tell them to look behind the curtain, as you would say, and find out what's really going on and investigate. And understand the true story and get a platform to tell their story.
Okay, I mean, this organization, this 100 mentoring organization, is fantastic. Start one in your neighborhood. I'll call Mr. Browning there, because this is something we need. Everybody, every race. See you next time.